Today, I'm going to be showing you how I memorized and gave a TEDx talk that got over 50,000 views in the first 7 days. Giving a TED talk is a huge honor, and it's been on my bucket list for a little while. So when I got asked to give a TEDx talk in my hometown of Bristol, I was super excited. The only problem was that they kind of asked me at the last minute. Plus, my friends and family weren't exactly convinced that I could write and memorize a talk in that time frame. Hey, I just got asked to give a TEDx talk.
What? No way, that's amazing. When is it?
It's in 2 weeks.
You're joking, right? Doesn't it usually take 4 months to prepare?
No, I got 2 weeks.
I mean, we are getting a puppy tomorrow.
Oh yeah, and the day after I got asked to give the TED talk, I actually picked up a new puppy called Basil, so I had to learn the whole talk pretty fast while not getting distracted by a small dog. Okay, so I'm recording this to document my TEDx journey. Usually there's a process where speakers think about their talk, plan it out, and go through a TEDx masterclass over a few months. But as I'm coming to this quite late, the other speakers have done this already and have submitted their outline and their draft talks. And what I'm actually finding out now is that picking a topic is really hard because I want to make sure it's something that offers value to everyone watching and as many people as possible. And actually getting to give a TEDx talk doesn't come around too often. And this is one in my own hometown, so I don't want to mess it up. Now, Ren from Corridor found it really tough and he had just 2 months and I've got 2 weeks.
And the talk is in a little less than 2 months, and I'm worried that it's not going to go well because turns out writing a TED Talk is a lot harder than I originally thought it would be.
So to get some inspo, I've picked up Talk Like TED and TED Talks by Chris Anderson. And I've watched every single popular TED Talk I could to find out things that will help me to plan out my talk. TEDx is all about sharing great ideas, and the TEDx team want me to talk a little bit about my background as a doctor and entrepreneur, but have left the rest up to me. My main issue here is that I can speak about a bunch of stuff, from learning to business to medicine and technology, but all the advice in the books and the TEDx masterclass is that the idea needs to be simple and focused. So at this point, I started to map out some simple topic ideas that could grab people's attention and that I had a unique take on. I thought about talking about learning how to learn, using active recall, or trying to explain the metaverse to people, but I wanted to choose a topic that could be valuable to as many people as possible. Then I just started texting my team some random ideas at like 4 a.m. and one of them really grabbed my attention. So as well as being passionate about learning in general, I'm also really passionate about self-improvement and improving skills like communication and what are called soft skills. In medicine, we learn these through role play and in work when breaking bad news, and being a good communicator or having strong emotional intelligence can literally change your life, both in your work, but also in your personal life too as you build relationships. Medicine is great at improving skills like leadership, decision making and empathy, which aren't taught in school, but which are skills that we use every single day in our lives. Seriously, think back to how often you make decisions in your life, and then think to how often you use trigonometry. And improving soft skills is one of the reasons I decided to start this YouTube channel in the first place, so that I could get better at talking directly to camera and explaining things in simple terms. Okay, so now I've got my talk title, which is How to Learn Power Skills. I've got just 13 days left to actually plan the talk and learn and practice it. Now, when writing any essay or talk, my approach is to break things down into bite-sized chunks using headings. And for talks, I find that using personal stories and anecdotes helps the audience to understand things. And stories are also really easy for me to remember, as they're personal and so they're easy to encode and recall. Now, a TEDx talk is 18 minutes. And although I usually use bullet points or short notes when planning YouTube videos, or when I've spoken at big events in the past, like at Pitch at the Palace, TED recommends scripting everything out and then rehearsing as much as possible. So for the next 48 hours of my life, I'm going to be sitting right here at this desk, writing out the talk, while taking Basil outside every hour, as puppies apparently have tiny bladders. Alright, so I've just got off the phone with some of the organisers for the TEDx talk, and there were around 1,000 people coming to the event apparently, and I'm first on after the break. And it's also getting recorded and uploaded to the TEDx website and YouTube channel. So this is all starting to feel pretty real now, and I'm pretty tired and distracted with the puppy, so I'm not sure how this is going to go, but I'm going to be consistent and give it my best. I split the TEDx talk up into an introduction that grabbed people's attention and set the scene, and then a story that linked my experiences in surgery with the importance of soft skills like empathy to everyone beyond medicine. And then I jumped into some stats and research that demonstrated the importance of soft or power skills to your career and people's personal lives in general. I really wanted to give back and make the talk as practical as possible. So then at the end, I break things up into a few tips that the audience could use immediately to help them improve their own soft skills. When writing any essay or memorizing a talk, breaking it up into sections helps to chunk that information and improve encoding. I then make the first word and sentence of each chunk really memorable so that this triggers my recall of that section. Now, this was cool and I was really happy with the content, but giving a talk isn't about content alone. It's also about delivery and how you make the audience feel. And so at this point, I had just 11 days with puppy distractions to actually learn and practice delivering the talk. Okay, so T-minus 10 days to go until the TEDx talk, and the talk is being actively promoted. I've basically been taking Basil out every hour, practicing my talk in the garden, and then going back inside and testing myself again on the different sections I've broken the talk up into. I'm running to just under 18 minutes, which is the hard cutoff time for the talk, so I'm feeling okay, but I might speak slower on the day. One thing I've been doing is that if there's anything that I just can't remember for whatever reason, I switch it out for something more memorable. I'm trying to get the key bits of the talk down so that I can talk naturally rather than learning every single word verbatim. The problem here is that there are some sections with stats that are pretty specific that I want to include, so I'm using active recall to test myself again and again and adding on more and more of the talk as I nail each section. Alright, so at this point in my preparation, I'm 3 days out and I'm feeling like I can do it, but will it actually be my best work? I'm probably overthinking things and being a bit too perfectionist about it, to be honest with you. I've actually practiced so much that when I did a quick rehearsal earlier in front of my girlfriend and her friends, I could get the content out, but I felt a little bit stiff and robotic. So I've decided to switch it up, take a break, chill out and hit the gym, even though there's just 24 hours until the dress rehearsal on stage. But hopefully this sorts things out for me. So I just did the dress rehearsal and I'm feeling pretty good. You can't really see the audience because of the lighting, and usually if I'm giving a talk, I like to look around at people in the audience to build a connection, so it's a little bit disconcerting. I felt the talk went pretty well overall in practice, and I almost wish that that was the real thing. The feedback from the TEDx talk organisers was pretty good too, so fingers crossed I nail it when it matters. Time now to get a good night's sleep.
So how can you change your life right now?
When I walked out on stage, it was pretty nerve-wracking, but I got into the talk pretty well. Most importantly, everyone in the audience seemed to enjoy the talk, and I got lots of people coming up to me at the end, which is always great feedback. Of course, ideally I would have liked more time to prepare, but to be honest with you, I always like to push myself and challenge myself under pressure. And the most important thing isn't my perfectionism, it's about how much value the talk offers to the audience. And when the talk went up online, it was trending on the official TEDx website and their YouTube channel and got over 50,000 views in the first few days, which was pretty insane. So let's reflect back on the process that I used to prepare for and learn my TED talk in under 10 days. So the first thing I did was to simply say yes. I'm a big fan of saying yes to opportunities, even if they come with a challenge, as that's how we grow. After making the commitment, I then went into research mode and really tried to understand what makes a good TED Talk and find out how other people have prepared. In this case, I jumped into books, audiobooks, and watched the most popular TED Talks to study how the talks were structured and delivered, and how the best speakers learn their talks in general. You can apply this principle to learning pretty much anything, from studying for exams to learning an instrument, and if you understand how to learn and you plan a strategy and process before getting down to it, when you write and learn things, you'll likely do pretty well. For the TEDx talk specifically, one thing I did that was really useful was that I looked at the actual TEDx transcripts and their word count to get a feel for rough word limit when constructing my own script. For me, this was around 2,500 words. The next thing I did was I spent quite a while thinking about the actual topic itself, choosing to go for something with wide appeal that I was passionate about and keeping things really focused. Even though 18 minutes seems like a long time, it actually flies by and you need to hold people's attention and keep them engaged throughout. If you introduce too many new ideas or concepts, this can dilute your core message that you're trying to share, and so I had a really tough time leaving certain things out and just focusing down on educating the audience about why soft skills are important and then giving them some practical tips to help them actually learn. This uses some basic educational psychology principles too, by explaining why something is relevant to a learner before teaching them the actual topic itself. If people think things are really relevant and important to them, they're more likely to pay attention and stay engaged for the duration of the talk itself. Another thing I chose to do here was to use my own personal journey and stories to ground the pretty conceptual topic of soft skills in the real world through relatable stories to show why they are so important. When planning out my talk, I used a rough framework of introduction, middle, and end, and broke the middle down into a personal story and then tips to improve soft skills. This gave a good framework to build upon, and which I could approach in bite-sized chunks so that it wasn't too overwhelming. For the introduction, I needed to introduce myself and try and grab people's attention immediately. And to do this, I used the story of why I left medicine and founded a tech company, which people often ask me about, and I then used examples from my medical career to show just how important soft skills are and why they can be learned. As mentioned, using stories also helped me to more easily learn the talk, since when encoding new information, our cognitive load is reduced if we can easily link what we're learning to previous memories. Now, once I've planned everything out, I then got down to researching and writing, which took me about 4 days with minimal sleep, and I approached each section of the talk individually. I then used active recall to just test myself over and over again and practice the talk as much as possible, focusing on each section in turn and linking the end of each section to the beginning of the next section using mnemonics and a rough mind map to again reduce my cognitive load and aid encoding and recall. On the day of the TEDx talk itself, I tried to chill out and didn't over-practice the talk, and tried my best to enjoy the process by reminding myself that it was a really great opportunity and privilege. When I was up on stage, I tried to relax, took a breath before speaking, and then allowed the talk to come to me, and backed myself that I'd prepared enough. I got a little bit nervous at a few seconds in and fumbled a few words, but other than that, I felt the talk went really well. And that really was it. By using some encoding strategies and active recall, I was able to learn the TED Talk in less than a week. And if you want to improve your soft skills and see the final talk in full, I've put up a link at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Do hit that subscribe button if you appreciate the effort that went into this, and I'll catch you again in the next one.
Come here, Basil. Good boy. Good boy.